Hey, what's up, Liron here. Thank you for joining me in an episode of Painting Masters. It has been a while. Today we're going to look at paintings by Cesc Farré. This is an artist I've been wanting to review for a while now. I believe he's Spanish with the background. He's an architect, and his paintings are unique. So if you look at someone like Misulbu, who's a master of portraits, I see Cesc Farré as a master of landscapes, all kinds of landscapes, as you'll soon see. Control to the highest degree, visual experience and knowledge and just vision in general that is amazing. Before we get to that, I do have some good news to share with you. As you might have heard, I'm collaborating with Proko.com. Stan Prokopenko, quite a famous artist, has a marketplace for art courses. I've been working on building this collaboration with them. Here's the important part for you. If you're not a member of my frustration-free watercolor course and my watercolor realism course, you can now get them for a significantly discounted price. I believe it's 25% off, and if you compare it to if you were to buy both of these together on my own website, it actually comes down to more than 25% off because the price there is a little cheaper to begin with. So in short, if you don't own these courses, head over to the first URL in the description box. It's your chance to get them both. Watercolor Realism, frustration-free watercolor course for a great price on Proko.com. Wonderful people. It's been a pleasure to collaborate with them. There will be also an upcoming live stream with them and also a video on their channel, which is, I think, over 3 million subscribers. Just a free kind of introduction to this bundle as well. I'm going to talk about it more in future videos as well, but just know if you want to get these for a great price, right now is your chance. First link in the description box below. Thank you so much for checking it out. Let's jump into Cesc Farré's watercolors. Now, these are incredible. I'm going to show you why. To me, getting this thing, and this painting has been in front of you now for a couple of moments, getting this control of how he paints the clouds, how he paints the edges on them, everything here, it just works perfectly, and it comes down to a highly realistic impression. It's true that if you zoom in a bit, you look up close at the details, of course you can tell this is a painting, which, by the way, I love. This is something I absolutely love, that I can tell it's a painting, but from a bit from afar, it looks really realistic. Now, one thing that I'm personally having trouble with, and he's a master of, is having all the colors in the scene serve each other perfectly to create that strong sense of sunlight, directly viewed sunlight, in fact. So what you see here is starting from these blues, moving over to these bit of more neutral colors, a bit of yellows, and ending in these strong oranges, a very punchy transition that puts all the focus strongly on the road leading up to the either sunset. It's a sunrise, actually, the title of the painting. I see it, Sunrise on the Road. And for those who are curious about the dimensions, sorry about my phone, for those who are curious about the dimensions of this painting, it's 56 by 76 centimeters. Now, one more thing I want to mention, and then we'll move on to the next painting, is check out the way this road and the way the highlights, or not highlights, but I would say lighter spots within the darks are portrayed. This is another bit of genius with his paintings. You're going to see it recurring in some of the future paintings we'll look at. But look at within the darks, there are areas of slightly lighter value that are portrayed wonderfully. So let's move on to the next one. Here's another one. This kind of reminds me also of Zbukvic-esque type of, especially when it comes to the ground. But here's what I think separates Cesc's work, and that is the way he portrays textures is genius. Now, you will see more of that later on. If anything, what reminds me of Zbukvic here is the style of brush stroke, but these two artists are vastly different in how they, I think, how they view reality, because it does come through in the paintings in a great way. It's you can feel it. So I'm just making these parallels just for more educational purposes, but of course these are two completely different artists, paint completely differently. The sky, all of these nuances of the clouds, once again, getting this edge, this kind of a transition is very complex. It requires the perfect timing. And once again, if we look at it through the spectrum of color, check it out. We have this more neutral blue here, but if we go up to this corner, this is almost, and it's a different type of blue. This is more of a turquoisey blue, very muted, but still quite turquoisey. I would say a bit more on the azul, a bit more on the phthalo side. And then as we move down, we're gradually getting into the more violet-y, ultramarine colors. So all of these transitions, these nuances, they're not just here is me using a bunch of colors. It's well thought out. It works in harmony really well. I do like the subject a lot, this, I guess, agricultural machinery quite a bit as well. And I find it quite relaxing. Let's look at another interesting one. So I told you, a master of textures. Check this one out. This one is called, and by the way, the previous one is Sunrise near Salamanca. This one is White Line, number 2. His ability to portray what I think is a fairly realistic landscape while still using a lot of abstraction and a lot of granulation and patterns that are created very naturally in watercolor, if you know what pigments to use, is wonderful. I don't think I've ever seen, other than what's his name? I forgot. I should remember his name. I talked about this other artist as well. I believe Sweden artist. It's very famous. It's just that I have newborn dead brain right now, so my apologies. Lars Larin. That's the artist I had in mind. Sorry about that. I thought about Anders Zorn, but it's not Zorn. It's Lars Larin, who's also a master of textures. But this right here is quite special. This is quite special to me. I've never seen it used and done this way. And it's almost like a magic, because you can start painting all of these details and create a lot of weird edges, or you can harness the power of just straightforward natural watercolors to do the work for you. And he's clearly a master of that. Again, this to me is very relaxing. When I think about things I would like to hang up on my wall that I look at while I work, this is the kind of work. I should probably reach out and purchase a painting or two. So that's one. Now, if you look at all of these layers of thin snow/ice, these little lights there in the background, just a wonderfully crafted painting. I'm usually not the kind of person to like a snowy landscape the most out of a collection of scenes. This is not my go-to. I love a lot of them, and I enjoy a lot of them, and I also enjoy painting a lot of them. But if I were to choose of a collection, I go more for the cityscapes, more for the abstract figures, more for some sunsets like we've seen earlier. This is so good that to me, I guess this could be one of my favorites here, if not the top, at least top 3. So that's that. You know, and when something is done masterfully, it has that power to it. Now I want to look at another one, quite similar. And remember, I talked about subtle highlights. Here we go. See this? And if we zoom in and start analyzing the colors, you look, we're starting with a white. And it's not even paper white, I think. It's a little darker than that. Then we move on to yellows. Then we move on to reds. Then we move on to blues. And then we see all of this texture of snow once again. This is fantastic. Not only do you have the textures and let's say the more obvious darks within the texture, look at how it goes from a dark value to a slightly lighter value, to a slightly darker value, to a slightly lighter value, and it has the feeling of rolling hills within the snow, which is an effect that is so complex to get if you just paint it directly. But I guess he really knows how to build things up. I would be very curious to see him paint, and we'll talk about that in a second. I think there's a banner from Instagram. I'd be very curious to see him paint. There are some demos, but they're not, I don't think they represent the newest, his newest paintings. So this is wonderful. This is another one. This and the previous one are really on my top list. It makes me want to learn how to use granulations. How's that? And I've never been a fan of granulations, but it does make me want to learn. So that's amazing. Here's the one I talked about, Hielo y Nieve. If I'm not mistaken, I don't know, Hielo, it's ice and snow, if I'm not mistaken. At first, look at the painting. Spectacular. Using different effects and textures, these blotches, cauliflowers, whatever it is, to create a sense of puddles. everything is mixed together, but it still has structural integrity, right? All of these lines that you see, these abstract lines connecting the road to the snow to the side, all of these bits of twigs. The road itself is very broken off as we move farther into the distance. Just wonderful control of the paint. But it still has that structural integrity. And I did want to mention, so this looks like it's 9th of November, 2024, an online event. I'm not sure what it says. Honestly, I'm sorry, my Spanish could use a refresher. But if you want to join it, just to support the artist, if it's paid, if it's free, I'm not sure. Check it out. Check out his Instagram. I'm going to put the links below as well. But yeah, just wonderful work. Here's another one. So this one's called Coast 5. Again, water breaking off or breaking against rocks, against the shore. It's beautiful. And a lot of it is, you can see the water was actually more painted, right? This is colors, wet and wet, a lot of effects, a lot of beautiful wet and wet effects where you leave a highlight behind, or not a highlight, but a lighter value like this. I should stop treating lighter values as highlights. Like, these aren't highlights. This is maybe could be considered a highlight, but and then the less painted bit, right? This is the more let the paint do its thing. The ability to let the paint create realism is something I find very impressive. Joseph Bokovic has that same capabilities, I think. Alvaro Castanet does things a little different. I always like to relate to these two artists because they were the gateway for me into the world of more realistic watercolors. But if you look at a lot of artists paint these details. They go in and paint them. Some do it very masterfully, realistically. You have Thierry Duval, who will paint details very realistically and just paint every detail. I find this approach more attractive to me, both as a viewer of the art and as a spectator, you could say, and as a creator. I think there's something very organic to it that I enjoy, something more holistic. That's how I would prefer to paint myself if I could, and I probably will dive a bit deeper on these effects and try to figure out how I can incorporate them in my work. And just, it's a shortcut. You want a result, here's the result. You don't have to painstakingly paint it. So fantastic. Look at these little squiggly areas, just wonderful. Would be curious to see how this was painted in particular as well. Now, I do want to go back to some skylines. Cielos de Castilla. This one's called, or is it Castilla in Spanish? I'm not sure. In Spain, Spanish. I wanted to show you a bit of that control. This, I believe, is a bit of an older painting, just a bit, but I could be mistaken. But all of these lines, maybe there was a jet plane, something flying through the sky, leading us all the way down through the clouds to the beautiful light here. And look at this sense of light right here down lower corner. Hard transition, soft light seeping through this ridge, whatever it is. This makes me want to let watercolor really paint themselves more and see how I can find these shortcuts in the best way possible. Again, I mean, shortcuts is just let the paint do the work for you. It will not compete with nature. It will be something different and better. But these gentle areas of gentle control, I absolutely love. This is why I wanted to feature this painting in particular. Here's another one. Again, all of these, the wind moving the clouds. Here the clouds are a little light over dark. Here they're dark over light. And these fences feels like a low angle to me, because you can see the sun almost really close to these whatever wooden fences, wire fences. It's just fantastic. This is a scene I could stare at. I could really just stare at, enjoy, dive deeper into, and really would enjoy just seeing it hung up on the wall in front of me. I do want to show you 2 more scenes, if I'm not mistaken, that showcase what I think is some of the best sky I've seen in watercolor. The way these clouds are portrayed, it's insane. The control it takes, the vision, the ability to see things in this interesting way, and then lead the process of watercolor that is very much like a highway. You have a few exits, but when you don't have an exit, you have to keep going. just these transitions from a slightly grayish warm to a cool color, it takes a lot of focus, understanding, intuition, and just being there in the painting process. This is a rare painting to me. Now, I want to show you one more. We're going to finish with that one. This, to me, is everything I just mentioned in the previous one, plus this little array of light here, which I find fascinating. It almost looks like a mistake, like someone dropped a dot on the image, but I'm pretty sure it's part of the painting. What is it there? Is it a little cabin? Is it lights from a highway? I'm not sure, but just this little touch, if you ignore it, it changes the painting completely. To me, it adds something unique. And even this effect is even more compounded by all of the smooth edges. Almost everything here is smooth edged. Clouds, the layers of sky, Ruth in the background, very smooth edged. But this little droplet of light is quite strong. It's stark. But it's also quite small. And what I take from this is, I don't know, it's a good feeling, you know, seeing this. So I really hope you enjoyed seeing Cesc Farré's paintings with me here. Very fun. This is not art critique. This is just art appreciation. I will put a link in the description box below. Check out his Instagram, his websites, everything else, and support the artist. And I will also mention, first link in the description box below, I don't usually do this, but this is important to me, is the link to Proko, to my course bundle there. Check it out. I'm actually quite proud to have the course there over on Proko.com. They've been wonderful so far, you know, the communication, everything. It's quite a massive project. And again, there will be an upcoming live stream. There will be an upcoming free video on their YouTube channel, which is great. Great exposure for me, honestly. So I'm really happy about that. It's a promotion. It's going to end at some point. Just a wonderful opportunity to get both courses. We'll go back to Cesc Farré once again. Check out his Instagram. Check out his website. Just a fantastic painter, spectacular, making water do the work. I'm going to end on this one, actually. This is probably my favorite after seeing all of them. Thank you so much for watching. We really do appreciate it. And yeah, we'll see you in the next vid. Take care.